Good morning, Cougs. You are listening to Slye of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. It's a Seattle sports talk show where we're giving you updates, hot takes, and hopefully talk to some important people. We are finally back. It has been over 3 weeks, I think, since we've been able to do an episode. There's just been a string of bad luck. We weren't able to do one 3 weeks ago, and then the power was out at the studio for 2 weeks in a row, so we weren't able to do it for that stretch. But we finally got confirmation power is back. Obviously, you're listening to us live, so we are back. We are live. I'm joined in booth today with the one, the only Connor Simmons. Connor, how are we doing this morning?
Good morning. Happy to be back. There's a lot of talk about, but also we missed out on a lot to talk about. So a little disappointed in that aspect, but glad we're back.
Yeah, it was very poorly timed. So much stuff was happening.
Of course, the biggest football game of the year is going to be when we can't talk.
Exactly, and we were talking about the Super Bowl and everything before it happens, and then right when we would have been able to go on and talk about it is when all this happened, which kind of sucks. And the Four Nations face-off, and spring training starting for the MLB. So there's just so much to talk about.
And trades, free agents coming up, NFL. We missed the Super Bowl, but we're missing a whole bunch of stuff, whether it's the pro days are coming up, the NFL Combine's coming up. There's a lot to talk about in the sports world. We're happy to be back.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. But first, before we get into all that, we're going to start, as we normally do. Let's talk about Cougar sports. I'm a big baseball guy. Cougar baseball is back, baby. Oh, I love it. It's great. We started off with a 4-game series at Arkansas. Lost all 4 of those. It was rough. That was brutal. But I was talking to you about this before we went on the air. 2 of those games, the Cougars were in it against Arkansas, who's number 5 in the country.
Team,
they're 4 spots behind Texas A&M, who's the best baseball program in best college baseball program in the whole United States. Yeah. So you were holding your own against the number 5 Arkansas, and they're the only ranked opponent we play all year. No one else we play this year is ranked. And so the fact that we could hold our own against that good of a team means that when we get into Mountain West Conference play, I'm not saying that we're going to absolutely dominate everybody, but I'm feeling pretty confident about this team.
No doubt about it. Like, obviously, in the stretch, like we lost yesterday, 0-5. But like you said, it's against very good teams. And Michigan State, I believe, is also relatively pretty good. Yeah. And it's a long season. Baseball is always going to be a long season.
Yeah.
I talked to you about it before this. I just don't want them to get a slope where it's like the snowball just keeps rolling. We're already 0-5. Haven't seen them win yet. And I want them to be like, okay, we lost to good teams. Let's just find a rhythm against the teams that are just like us. Win our division, because our division is not close to the 2 teams we played against already.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to build off, and we'll just see as time goes on. We have high expectations for this team, obviously, and we'll see.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they played against Michigan State yesterday, lost that one 9-2. They're at I can't remember the name of it. It's an invitational game down in Corpus Christi.
Yep.
Just off of the newly named Gulf of America.
Oh, UCLA.
UCLA are playing against UCLA today. And then they're playing against, I forget who. The last 2 games they're going to be playing, which is tomorrow and Monday, is Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. I saw Texas A&M on the schedule.
Oh, okay, so we lost 40-0.
Yeah, I was gonna say geez, but it's their Corpus Christi. It's not the actual Texas A&M campus.
I think that's where we should get our first couple wins.
Hopefully,
obviously UCLA is a big school, so I don't know the baseball.
I can see us pulling one out against UCLA. Yeah, maybe.
But if not, I think our first win does come against Corpus Christi.
And, I mean, in college baseball like this, you just got to be trying to get that first win. And as soon as you get that first win, like you're saying, that's positive kind of snowballing. It's like, all right, we just won a game. Now let's just win the next one, win the next one, win the next one. So as soon as you get that first win, it just starts those good vibes, that good momentum moving forward. Yeah. And then, so besides Cougar baseball, women's basketball.
Yes.
Tonight. Is it tonight, isn't it?
Yes.
Tara Wallach's last game as a Cougar. She's a senior. It's senior night.
A last home game, I believe. I don't know how playoffs are going to work out and stuff like that. They're going to be in a tournament, but last home game.
Tara Wallach,
future Coug Hall of Famer, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
She's playing in her 100th consecutive game as a Cougar. I met her, talked to her as a person, made a couple of scenes with her, like scripts and everything like that, and funny videos. Just a great overall human being. Yeah. She's a better person than she is a basketball player, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
And she is one of the best Coug athletes to come through.
Yeah.
WSU. She stayed here all 4 years. She's from Canada.
Hey.
So no doubt in my mind.
You don't say.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt in my mind she's going to do amazing things after college. And she was tearing up talking about the team she's the only senior on this team.
Yeah.
So it's Tara Wallach night, not senior night. It's Tara Wallach night. Yeah. And just overall, it should be just a great, fun enjoyment night for her, and I only hope the best for her.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and we talked about it too. the fact that women's sports in college in general, but also here in Wazoo, I feel like women's sports are more consistently good because
they're able to build something.
Yeah, it's not like with men's sports where they'll you have a good guy on your team for like a year, 2 years, and they transfer something like that.
And better programs,
NIL type stuff and everything. With women's sports, they're more likely to stay here and play because, like when you mentioned, Caitlin Clark played 4 years at where did she play? Iowa. There it is. Yeah,
she could have gone
somewhere else,
bigger programs, but she elevated Iowa into a top program now. I don't know how they're doing. Obviously, there's gonna be a drop off when you lose, quote unquote, potentially the greatest girl basketball player of all time.
Yeah,
but they're still consistently making a March Madness tournament, and I know for a doubt she changed a whole bunch of girls' lives. Of I want to go to Iowa.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt in my mind in the future she has progressively progressed the game itself for girls basketball.
Well, I mean, like she's graduated. She's not playing for Iowa anymore, but I feel like she's still the face of Iowa women's basketball.
Oh, no doubt.
Like if like what you're saying, like girls, like young girls who are gonna grow up and play girls basketball,
they want to go to Iowa because of her.
Yeah, they're gonna want to wear that jersey and feel like Caitlin Clark, and that's just it's something that's super cool. It's why women's sports in college are super fun to watch. Like people dog on it all the time. It's like, oh, it's not as fast as the men's game, but it's more consistent.
It's growing too.
Yeah,
and like let's get back on the Tara Wallach subject. It's just like it's overall great stuff happening, and we're building a community. It gives me like almost a I don't want to say a high school vibe because this is way different in the advancement and how these girls play is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But they have that high school vibe where they just love each other as a team. This has been a really good team, and just keep winning. You know what I'm saying? Just keep winning. Hopefully they can win for Tara Wallach senior night. And like we said, just good luck to her.
Exactly, yeah. A lot of good vibes coming from Tara Wallach. But that's going to do it for Cougar Sports. Let's move in. Let's talk about the MLB. It is officially spring training as of Thursday, I believe, were the first games.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I absolutely love spring training. The Mariners played their first spring training game yesterday against the Padres, and I was listening to the radio call for it because I couldn't watch it because I have to pay the MLB.com thing to watch it.
And we're not doing that.
I'm cheap. I'm very, very cheap. But I was listening to the radio broadcast. I was listening to the one and only Rick Riz. And he mentioned something. Rick Riz, I love him. He's the best. He's great. But he mentioned something that I 100% agree with and relate to. Is he mentioned that for him growing up, well, not growing up. I think when they started doing spring training, he was already a grown man. But when he would be listening to spring training on the radio from I can't remember where he's from. I don't think he's from Seattle. But if you were from a place that's cold and snowy, like here on the Palouse, where it's like it's during this time of year we get snow, it's cold, it's 6 degrees out, that kind of stuff. When you listen to spring training baseball being played in Arizona, where it's like 100 degrees out, it's warm, it's sunny, it's like ideal baseball weather, it warms your soul a little bit because it reminds you that, hey, in a couple months or in a month or so, it's going to be like that too. And it's going to be warm. It's going to be baseball season. It's not quite yet, not quite here, but like you're cold where you are. It's winter.
We're just about throwing the alley-oop, throwing the alley-oop, and then it's almost time for a slam dunk summer.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm excited for the hot weather, man. Everyone's getting sick as a dog out here.
I know. I was going to say this is the rough patch of here at Wazoo where it's just cold, everyone's sick, and
it's our first patch too.
I was going to say. Yeah, we're just waiting for the snow to melt off, and then we get that spring, summer weather. And spring and summer on the Palouse is very, very nice. Yeah. But anyway, Mariners played the Padres yesterday. They lost. And, it goes about how most spring training games go. We had some of our starters who are going to be starting in the year. Julio started. I think Victor Robles was playing.
And that's good in my opinion. We just saw the Juan Soto, obviously first bat, home run. But that's good. Get them juices flowing, I highly doubt they play more than half of these games.
No. So as soon as we started to lose, we started subbing in all of our prospects. I think one of our prospects, can't remember his first name. His last name's Taylor. He's number 0. Stole Sam Haggerty's number. He hit a home run in that game too, so he's looking pretty good, pretty tight. We saw Cole Emerson, Cole Young.
Well, this is a chance for these young guys to make a name for themselves. If it's not for the Mariners, it's for somebody else.
Pretty much.
So they are playing relatively really hard for themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not playing I need to win this game or do the winning plays and stuff like that, because you got to be a little selfish in this part of the season, at least. In spring training, you got to be selfish. So.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, I think part of the reason why I love watching spring training too is that you get to see these young guys getting reps. It's the future of the organization.
Yep.
for example, Cole Emerson was starting at shortstop, I'm pretty sure. And so you see him at shortstop, you see him at the plate, that's, in a couple years, or maybe not that far off, he'll start to become our starting shortstop.
Yep.
And, we might trade J.P. Crawford. Like, I like J.P. Crawford.
He's older, too.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to get younger.
That's the thing. It's like these guys all have younger guys in their system who are going to push them out of their spots eventually.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm kind of excited. I mean, I know that sounds bad. Like, I'm excited to see these guys lose their jobs.
Well,
but
it also gets to the point, like, we talk about, J.P. Crawford's going to get pushed out at one point.
Yeah.
But it's a cycle. J.P. Crawford was that guy that pushed somebody else out.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's a cycle of baseball. They understand it. They know years are limited unless they do start playing exceedingly well, which they're going to obviously try to do when prolonging their career.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's baseball.
Yeah.
It's like everyone says what sports are, business.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're not playing well, they will understand because they were the young kids that pushed the older guy out
yeah.
that wasn't playing as well. So they will understand it, and it's just one of those things. As time goes on, baseball's not going to stop. There's always going to be young guys trying to get your spot.
Yeah, it's the Jackson Storm, Lightning McQueen type thing. Eventually they're going to surpass you, and you just got to be. And the way you counteract that is you just have a good season, and you just try and fight for your spot.
You got to go one season at a time, especially for JP, who's in
back
his
of your
30s,
mind,
basically at this point. Like,
pretty much. But besides spring training, we also want to talk about the Mariners. The fact that the off season is essentially almost over, and our projected starting day lineup is looking exactly the same as it did at the end of last season. Which I don't hate it and I don't love it. And I'll say this: last year, end of the season, with the lineup that we're going to be rolling out opening day this year, that lineup was electric. It was great. It was producing runs. We were getting hits. We were doing everything that we should have been doing for the middle and start of that season, right? It was just too late. We put that together, that roster, when we were already out of playoff contention, mathematically. And you're going to be taking that into the start of this year with a healthy Polanco. You're going to probably be bringing on Donovan Solano at first base. Yeah. And I think, Luke Raley's going to have a pretty good year. Victor Robles is going to also have a pretty good year.
Julio's, I love Victor.
I love Victor Robles. Is awesome.
And Randy, I think Randy. Oh man, I want him to do good. So good. I want this whole team. This is just a lovable team.
I'll never prey on anyone's downfall or anything like that. Like I know I hate on Randy Rosarena sometimes. He's not my favorite player, but I want him to do well because if he does well, then that means that we also win. And so I want all these guys to be able to play well. I also think that so Julio's also going to have a bounce back after a bit of a sophomore slump. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think this lineup is going to get wins for us.
Well, there's a sophomore slump for a reason. Yeah. It happens in every sport. Like C.J. Stroud still had a relatively mediocre year, but compared to rookie year, sophomore slump. Yeah. And almost every time those guys come back that junior year, third year, I'm talking like a high school, college standpoint. Yeah. But there's a nickname for sophomore slump for a reason. Yeah. It's not like, he just completely sold and messed up the bed in year 2. Yeah. Like, there's names for that. And I just want to see this team. Like I said, I love this team. Like, they're one of those teams where it's like they don't have any superstars. They're not supposed to do good. No. But when they do good, like, everyone cheers. Like, Seattle's America's team at this point. And I just want them to succeed so bad.
Yeah. And let's touch on, like, the two main I say acquisitions. One of them's not really an acquisition; it's a reacquisition. Is Jordan Polanco, Jordan Polanco. Man, I can't say his name. Jorge Polanco, yes. Donovan Solano. They're basically gonna be our corner infielders. Polanco's gonna play third base. Donovan Solano's probably gonna play first base. Look, do I love the fact with the Jorge Polanco situation that it looked like we weren't gonna extend him? We were just going to dump him, and then all of a sudden, right before spring training, it's like, surprise, guys, we brought him back. He's going to be back on our lineup again. I never like doing that because I like, being just straightforward and just having, like, it almost makes it seem like ownership doesn't have a plan, so they're just like, we're just going to bring this guy back. Yeah. But I look at it like this. Jorge Polanco was not 100% last year. He had knee problems, had knee issues, so he couldn't, probably wasn't able to hit as best as he probably could have. Fielding was okay, was decent for playing second base. That's great. And I think it's a reason why they're moving him to third base. He doesn't have to move as much. It's a bit of a longer throw, but it's better than having to be turning double plays, having to constantly be moving, having to be cutting off throws all the time. It allows him to be a little bit more anchored at third base. Doesn't have to move as much. Let his knee heal up a little bit more. And I think if he has a healthy knee, it's going to translate to even better hitting. So
Yeah.
I expect Jorge Polanco to be having kind of a breakout year with the Mariners next year.
Oh, 100%. Like, this team is like a relatively really young baseball team.
Yeah.
At a standpoint to other teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So the potential is just through the roof, you can say, quote unquote, because there's so much room for growth in all of these players. Even Julio, who's our superstar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He has so much room to grow.
Yeah.
So
He hasn't peaked yet.
All these other guys, yeah. It's gonna be exciting to watch. I just hope it's not like they just come out and just bad. Like you just see a whole bunch of stuff where it's just like, end the season. Like
that's usually how the start of the Mariners season always feels like. But yeah,
I'm excited for the Mariners season. Shout out to them. They're playing the Angels right now as we speak. So hopefully we could get
down in Peoria
a quick little win right now.
Yeah.
And other than that, like.
Yeah.
It's just like we just said about WSU baseball. You just gotta wait and see.
Yeah.
So
honestly, just try and get that first win, just build off that, and then take that into the regular season. And I have some pretty high hopes for this Mariners team. I think a lot of guys are going to be a lot hotter than they were last year. But I think number one word that the Mariners need to keep in mind going into the season is consistency.
Yep.
Be consistent. If you're gonna, that's the one thing that's killed us is we have like the best month of July, or we have the best month of August in all of baseball, but we miss playoffs because we play like the Chicago White Sox for the rest of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think consistency is going to be what we need to bring into 2025, and if we have that, then we're going to win games. But let's pivot. Let's talk real quick about the Kraken. Their regular season for the NHL starts back up again after the Four Nations face-off. Today, the Kraken are playing against the Florida Panthers. I think if there was a worse team for us to...
Well, they're without Matthew Tkachuk, which...
Yes.
We'll talk about the Four Nations face-offs in a little bit and our opinions on it.
Yeah.
But Matthew Tkachuk is out.
Which helps.
For a good amount of time, which, it does help, obviously, if you don't have their best player. At the end of the day, I still think we lose. This Kraken team has just been nothing far but, like I had expectations, like, maybe playoffs. If we barely missed it, I'd have been like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
They almost went the exact opposite direction.
Yeah.
And it is so disappointing, I think, because 4 teams have been eliminated mathematically from, like, playoffs and stuff like that. And we're the 5th team with 1%. So we're the closest thing to being eliminated.
Yeah.
And I just look at this team, I'm like, what went wrong? What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
The coaching staff, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost a top-to-bottom situation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, not one outside the line of Kakko, Matty Beniers, and
James Schwartz.
I haven't seen a win-loss, the pros and cons.
No.
They're the only pro I have physically seen.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
And Joey Decord.
And Joey Decord.
Our GOAT.
He's been our GOAT, Joey Decord. He's been a stud. He's been picking up the slack for this team all year.
Trying to.
Yeah, trying his best. He's had a couple great games. But, I mean, look... We got catfished by this Seattle Kraken team. Start of the year, you bring on 2 Stanley Cup champions in Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour. And somehow, and also you're changing coaching staff to who was the previous head coach of your affiliate team, your AHL team. And so all that put together, I would say, granted, whenever you bring on a new coach, like the Seahawks.
It takes a year or two, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a year or two to build up some chemistry. I have some pretty high hopes for Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, even though his first year was pretty great. I think it's just going to get better than that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the same thing with Dan Bylsma. I think it might take a year for him to actually start clicking with this Kraken team and start putting together a decent season, hopefully next year.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wait that long. But there were just some super high hopes for this team because I'm not going to say we had like an A+ offseason. We had a lot of good production in the offseason. We picked up the guys we probably needed to get. We changed our coaching staff to people who are familiar with this program, who should have been able to come in with a little bit of chemistry with a lot of these guys, and just none of it translated to really any success. The best move we made was during the season when we brought on Capo Kakko, like you said. That was probably... that was a steal. We gave up Will Borgen and some draft picks for Capo Kakko, who was, I think, his value in the trade market had fallen off with the Rangers, and we picked him up for cheap.
He was a bust.
Pretty
he was
much.
Quite literally a bust with the Rangers. And not saying he's playing up to top 3, because top 3 are supposed to be a superstar, but he's easily a first, second liner for us.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best players on this team right now. But like you said, going back to like what we had in the offseason, it was the exact opposite of the Mariners, where we're spending our money. The management wants us to do good.
Yep.
the fans are buttoned up. They anticipate everything is just going the right direction.
Yeah.
And look, none of the signings went right.
Yeah.
Nothing we did went right. Like, obviously, coaching staff, it takes more than a year, 2-3 years to understand how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see with that. But everything else besides the Cabo Caco trade, and the thing is they're trying, which I love. Something with the Mariners I just do not physically like is that they're just kind of sitting there
doing nothing,
hoping we do good.
Yeah.
But with the Kraken, it's like they are at least trying.
Yeah.
Like, looking at the contracts we gave these guys now, they're horrific contracts. We severely overplayed how they're playing now, and that's going to hurt us probably for a little bit longer than we wanted to.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm not saying just turn it around, but start looking for your superstar.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, Roger McQueen.
Draft
I'm telling
him.
you. He's got the name.
Go get him.
First of all.
Yeah.
I promise you jersey sales are going to through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a 6'5" center.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential and just straight prodigy right there.
I say, like, so it's like, McQueen's number is 95.
Yeah.
And so I say
that'd be super cool.
I say that's why it allows me to pivot into who I think we should trade. Andre Burakovsky, I think we should trade him. Brandon Tanev, we should trade him. Yanni Gourde, we should trade him. But
honestly, I would say almost wait till the end of the year with those guys and like third, second round picks.
Yep.
Boom. Just do something like that.
Get some draft capital.
Just start getting young dudes.
Yep.
Because right now, like, Brendan Montour is probably, like, he's a guy already won his thing. He's just going to get paid. We're not in a championship situation.
Yeah.
So just have him be like, hey, listen, guys, be the veteran.
Yep.
And then have the young guys build up together. Like a Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl kind of situation where they're relatively the same age, 27, 28, and then them become superstars together, build off each other. Because if we're playing together for the next decade together, chemistry's there.
Totally.
So just have them off the bat come together. So draft capital is a huge thing.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned chemistry, I think that's a part of the reason why I think Chandler Stevenson, Brandon Montour, like, they had these bit of weird seasons. Like, Brandon Montour got off to a hot start, and then he cooled off.
His kid was
born. He got nerfed, was basically what happened. And then Chandler Stevenson had a really slow start. He's heated up. He's not insanely hot. Like, I'm not saying, like, Chandler Stevenson's the hottest guy in the NHL right now. I'm not saying that. He's having a better season.
Oh, he's starting to get more involved with the Kraken.
And I look at it like this. I look at, like, when you watch the Kraken play with the guys that we have, the number one thing I think that we're lacking is chemistry. When you watch, I'm gonna pick on your favorite team, the Oilers. This is for a good reason.
Okay.
When you watch, like, the Oilers play against, like, the Panthers, for example, right? I'm evoking bad memories for you of the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's okay.
But,
we're coming back this year.
But when you watch those teams like that play, who are playoff teams who can make their way to a Stanley Cup and can win Stanley Cups, when you watch them play, there's a flow. They play like a team. They play like a unit. They play like a playoff team. They have chemistry. They know where everyone is on the ice. They can make these no-look passes. They can get set up. They can score. When you watch the Kraken play, it's like watching pee-wee hockey players in grown men's bodies, and they're trying to pass to someone. He's not there. They try and get set up. He's not there.
They're on different pages.
Yeah. They're playing defense, and they're not covering the guy. They're pulling what happened to the Four Nations face-off. They're leaving some guy open out in front. In this case, it was Connor McDavid got the golden goal. But, it's stuff like that where chemistry for the Kraken is like our main problem. We don't look like we play like a unit. I think we mentioned this before. We don't look like we play like a unit. We look like we play like five guys each trying to get a goal, and not like five guys trying collectively to get a goal. And I think what's going to happen is, granted, it's the first year with Montour and Stevens on this team. I say give them a year, give them then through the offseason, work with them through camp and everything. And I think next year, Montour and Stevenson could have really great years with the Kraken. And then, like what you're saying too, get some draft capital, go trade, Burakovsky, Tanev, Gourde. They're not bad hockey players. They're just not producing for us, and we can get draft capital to build up this team.
And I can see them succeeding somewhere else, but this is just not the team for them kind of situation. But something like, let's just go Chicago Blackhawks and San Jose Sharks. They're worse than us, but at the end of the day, it's like they have their two superstars. That one has Macklin Celebrini, the other has Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like we're missing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be wrong, we have a better overall team, but we need that young guy that's going to be a superstar, going to be an all-star, going to be the face of the Kraken for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we haven't, like, Jared McCann's a great hockey player, but he's not going to be a future Hall of Famer.
No.
There's a chance he retires the greatest Kraken of all time, which
yeah.
is obviously love the guy, but not a great look for a franchise in general. if they're young and stuff like that. But we need that young guy to step up. We need a superstar. And that's what the Kraken, I'm going to keep going until we get that guy.
You know, I always think about, like, the mediocrity of the Seattle Kraken, and what solidified it for me was looking at our stats compared to the whole NHL. You look at Brandon I was about to say Brandon Montour. No, Jared McCann is our points leader, right? I think he's got 40 some odd points, right? The point leader in the NHL right now, I think, is McKinnon.
Yes.
And he's got like 80 some odd points. He's got like twice as many points as our best point scorer.
Well, because I'm looking at it right now, 42. Right now, today, I believe Leon Draisaitl scored his 45th goal.
Yeah.
So Leon Draisaitl has more goals than the Kraken's leading points.
It's so frustrating because, like, even our best guy, our number one producer on this team, probably would be sub average on any other good NHL team. That's, you know how frustrating that is? That makes my blood boil.
When your best player is a third, fourth liner on the championship team.
Yes, dude. That's like, it's so frustrating to me. And he's been our best point scorer for the past couple years. I will always love Jared McCann. Nothing can make me hate him.
Like we said, like, we love the dude, but it is disappointing, like, whenever he's the greatest Kraken of all time.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy, too. I was just hearing that a bunch of different NHL teams, and this is what happens when you have a team like the Kraken, you got a guy like Jared McCann on it. A lot of different teams are calling the Kraken saying, hey, are you thinking about trading Jared McCann? And so far, the answer from the Kraken has been no. We are not going to trade Jared McCann. I like that. I like that approach. You're not going to give up I wouldn't give up your golden goose right now. I think you want to build around a guy like that. He's not the youngest guy in the NHL who's like he's
someone that's been in, like, he's almost how can I like a Tyler Lockett, obviously not as old as Tyler Lockett in that situation, but he's the guy that's been here a long time, has produced for multiple seasons, is one of the top dogs.
Yep. And
it's just like, okay, this is how we play Kraken hockey.
Yes.
Kind of situation. And I've been doing this for a long time. I'm the best player in franchise history, but still super young. I keep saying that, but it's like I can't frustrated enough that it's like, listen, we're so young. There's a reason for that. But looking at these other teams, we need that relatively soon. We need to find our guy.
Yeah, find some young talent to bring on this team. Last bit of news, too, we want to touch on with the Kraken before we move on. Jordan Eberle is officially off of his conditioning assignment with the Coachella Firebirds, so we should probably see him playing in today's game against the Panthers. This is huge. Have our captain back because let me tell you,
love that guy.
Love Jordan Eberle. He's an absolute stud. He was a former Oiler, I believe, at one point. But look, as soon as Jordan Eberle got hurt, had his groin surgery, and was out, that's where you saw the start of the season for the Kraken was looking pretty good. Probably a little average. Then we shot up a little bit.
We talked about it. We were like, legit. Our thing was, we're beating the bad teams. We're in the middle.
Yep.
We just need to start beating the good teams.
Yep.
And obviously, we started losing to the bad teams. And couldn't beat the good teams.
And that was right where Jordan Eberle got hurt. Once you lose that veteran leadership and that your literal captain of your team.
In a young team that you have,
when you don't have that many older guys on the team, when you lose someone like that, it's like, you know, hitting you in the kneecap so you can't run away. And so now we have him back. I'm not saying this is going to turn our season around and we're all of a sudden going to make playoffs. We're not going to make playoffs that year. That's just a reality we got to accept.
I think they've accepted it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think right now it's just about fine-tuning some stuff in the last couple of games.
You know, start playing for you and becoming a team.
Dan Bowsman figuring out.
Build something.
Yeah, figuring out how to coach his team, how to build it, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no. Kraken are going to be playing against the Panthers later today, I believe, down in Florida. Don't know when they'll be back at home, but it's good to have the regular season of hockey back.
It's hard to watch normal hockey.
It is hard to watch, after watching the Four Nations face-off. And we will talk about the Four Nations face-off in a second. But let's jump in. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. Man, look, you want to talk about an absolute blowout? Oh, I loved watching that. That was, I'm just a Chiefs hater. But at the end of the day, that was a masterclass by the Eagles and how to absolutely crush a team.
Well, it was top to bottom, and like we said, like besides the Bills game in the AFC Championship, they didn't score 30 points all season.
Nope.
So
and it shows.
And I don't get how it happened, but the Chiefs are a team that just find ways to win.
Yeah.
And I will give them all the credit in the world for that. I don't care if you don't like them. I don't care if that's your favorite team. They find ways to win somehow. Mm-hmm. Throughout the whole season, I was like, their team doesn't look good. Mm-mm. They're barely squeezing out wins versus bad teams, but they're also squarely squeezing out good teams.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it's like, okay, they're like 15-2. What the heck is happening? And then I'm like, okay, playoffs are over. Texans just beat up on the Chargers as the underdogs. Let's go in there and try and beat them.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of rep plays on their side. Is what it is. Didn't score 30 points, though. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
The Bills, they play in cold weather. Doesn't matter if there's snow. Doesn't matter if there's anything. They get 30 points on them, which is like this whole weird situation.
Yeah.
And it almost had to give out, and it happened on the biggest stage, of course, for them.
Yeah.
And I think the Eagles do deserve that. Everyone kind of out
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts for a little bit of time. A.J. Brown and that whole team. But Howie Roseman, who's probably the best GM in the NFL right now, has single-handedly built this team with draft. A lot of teams built through free agency, and you don't see a lot of success.
Yeah.
They built, maybe outside of like A.J. Brown and a couple trades and super underrated free agents like Zach Bond, who was on 1 year, $8 million deal.
Yeah.
Was a defensive player of the year candidate. And so he's going to probably go to free agency, maybe resign with them, but go get a bag.
Yeah.
But he's also just drafted these guys straight out of the Cooper DeJean,
Yeah.
an hour ago. Jalen Carter, a whole bunch of these, Nolan Smith, a whole bunch of these guys are just straight dogs, super young guys. For the next 2-3 years, they're going to be really good. But it's going to be, once they start paying them and stuff, that's where the Eagles might split up and go in different directions. But that was just, like you said, a masterclass performance by the whole top to bottom.
Yep. Offense, defense, everything. You just completely shut them down through 4 quarters.
And they watched film, and like the Chiefs, we talked about Saquon Barkley. Like that was, I totally missed out on the free agents. Saquon, for the greatest running back season of all time in our generation, is he like they? You can tell they focused so much on Saquon.
Yeah.
And they did shut him down.
Yeah,
So
they
shout out
stuffed
to you
him
guys.
every play.
No doubt about it that you guys stopped Saquon, but you didn't stop the Eagles.
Yeah.
And that's what happened at the end of the day.
They're more than just one guy. You got to be able to stop all of them. And then essentially, they have the best offensive line in the entire NFL, the tallest and the heaviest.
Yes.
That's what the Seahawks need because we have like the smallest.
And we'll get into that pretty soon when the mock draft comes up. But going to the Chiefs side, it was just they couldn't get anything going. There was some drops where you don't see a whole bunch of stuff. Don't get me wrong, Travis Kelce's up in there with a retirement. I think he will come back at least for one more season.
Probably.
But we're not going to just count the Chiefs out. The Chiefs will be back.
Sure.
And one point or the other is we saw Patrick Mahomes kind of came out. Like, I didn't see Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes kind of all year.
Yeah.
And there was a time in that where he launched at 60 yards to Xavier Worthy. There was a dot, and I was like, that's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So I believe the GM of the Chiefs, his name's blanking on me right now. They need to find a way to, they need to find out, or Andy Reid and stuff like that. They need to find a way to get Patrick Mahomes back to that level instead of just like Patrick Mahomes, go win the game. Patrick Mahomes, go be yourself.
Yeah.
Is what I want to kind of see more. Build something. Obviously, they lost Tyreek Hill. That took a drop. Travis Kelce's getting older. But find something like Xavier Worthy. Maybe go get a bigger free agent, something like that. But I do want to see the Chiefs kind of get back to the dominant Chiefs, not the winning Chiefs, the dominant Chiefs. I hope that does kind of make sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, I 100% agree. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Patrick Mahomes is arguably one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game.
Yeah.
And he still is. He's still a great talent. And I think that especially with like, you lose Tyreek Hill, and then you're probably going to lose Travis Kelce here this year or next year.
Yeah.
You gotta be aggressive and being able to continue to keep this team competitive.
And there has to be an X factor, like we saw. Like I know they won Super Bowls with Kadarius Toney and stuff like that, but it almost wasn't like I need to see an X factor with that team.
Yeah.
Like I thought DeAndre Hopkins was going to do a little bit better. He didn't. He helped them. Don't get me wrong. He was one of the better receivers on that team. And same with Marquise Brown. I thought they were going to be more dominant.
Yeah.
Maybe Xavier Worthy does step into that X factor role where he's the next Tyreek Hill or the next speedy receiver like Zay Flowers or something.
Yeah.
He's still young. You never know. But they do need an X factor. Travis Kelce has been that, and he's slowly been progressing down, which is going to happen when you're getting older.
Yeah.
And they completely lost a little bit on their passing game as Tyreek Hill left from Miami.
Which doesn't help them at all, yeah.
So I want to see them get something back. I need... Because they have the O-line. They don't have to worry about that. Pacheco and Kareem Hunter, a great 1-2 punch in the backfield.
Yeah.
Go get some receivers that Mahomes can trust. It can't be just pure play calling.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. They also, after the Super Bowl and everything, there was a ranking that they ranked the top Super Bowl teams that have played.
Yeah.
I think they put the 2025 Eagles number 1.
Ooh.
And they had the 2013 Seahawks at number 3 or 4, I think.
Okay.
So my question to you is, if the 2013 Seahawks played the 2025 Eagles, who's winning that game?
So, dude, that's a hard one because you can't just discount the Eagles. Like, they are like a very good team.
Yep.
That dominated the whole playoffs.
Super strong offense, super strong defense.
There wasn't a close game in the playoffs.
Nope.
They completely defense,
Dominated.
offense. Like, the defenses are up in the air, honestly. I'm going to give the edge to, because it's like Legendary Legion of Boom.
The Legion of Boom is, I think, better than any defense ever.
But on the offensive side, like we said, but the Legion of Boom, they never faced Saquon Barkley.
That is true.
And that's the whole, like, because it's so hard to be like, I hate when people do, like, the 90s is way harder than the 2000s. Jordan's better than, because it's almost two different games being played.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they never play, they played probably like Adrian Peterson and stuff like that. It was relatively close. But Saquon Barkley, in our lifetime, and even our parents' lifetime, had the best running back season of all time.
Yeah.
So it's almost hard to, like, adjust to that, because it's like you have the Chiefs situation where they did stop Saquon, but you couldn't stop Devontae Smith. You couldn't stop A.J. Brown in that passing game. Jahan Dotson even. Jalen Hurts was slinging it. So it's hard to say. At the end of the day, I think, because I want to go the technological advancements and how players have just been better and better.
Yeah.
Because they didn't face off against a Jordan Davis, who's 360, 6'5", defensive tackle. Like you said, the heaviest O-line of all time.
Yeah.
That is, honestly, because you could have back in the day when it was a pure run game where they're running 90 times a game, just big dudes in there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to the Eagles. It's not going to be a close, it's not going to be a blowout.
Yeah, it's going to be a close game.
It's going to be a close game, no doubt about it. It's just because players are only getting better.
Yeah.
So athleticism is going to be through the roofs.
Yep.
They haven't seen a 6'7" Lane Johnson that's 380 pounds blocking them. That's where the situation comes into play. It is going to be a close game. That's a great question, though.
I think what you're mentioning too, like the players are just getting stronger and better and everything like that. Like, as much as I love Marshawn, I think that Saquon Barkley is stronger, faster than him.
Athletic.
Right now. Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Russell Wilson, I think Jalen Hurts has probably got a little bit of an edge.
He benches or squats, 600, 500?
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Yeah, I mean, and
the tush push, for example.
Yeah.
The Seahawks
can't do that.
They didn't can't do that. But Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas, they didn't know the tush push. What is that? Like, how are they going to stop
defend
it?
against that? Yeah.
Yeah, there hasn't been a team that has defended against it.
Yeah.
So you put the best defenses in there. I still highly doubt that they do stop that.
Yeah, I think the offensive power that the Eagles have would be such a good matchup to watch against the Legion of Boom.
Yeah,
I think that. But then I think you look at the offense for the Seahawks. I think they would get shut down by the defense for the Eagles. Like that's not even up for debate. I think we would get shut down by them. Yeah. So like you're saying, it wouldn't be a blowout, but it would be a really close game. And
it just comes down to who's faster, stronger, and just better football players in general.
I think
coaching is obviously up in the air with Pete Carroll and Nick Sirianni. That's great coaching.
Yeah,
but
I think if you had those two teams, if you were running it on Madden, if you played that game 10 times, each team would win at 5.
Yeah,
it's a pure 50-50. I think it would just be like that's how it would shake out.
Yeah,
but that's gonna do it for the talking about the Super Bowl. Let's talk about
a quick little first round mock draft.
Yeah,
we'll talk about the big players, but obviously we'll get into the
Seahawks. Who the Seahawks need to get. So who do you have the Seahawks taken in the first round?
Well, before I do talk about that, I just want to confidently say that this is the NFL teams right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We know there's going to be free agents. We know there's going to be people that are cut. Mm-hmm. We know there's going to be situations where, there's going to be trades.
Yeah.
So this is the NFL teams where they're ranked up right now. Mm-hmm. So the Seahawks could trade up, trade down, but right now they're at 18.
Yeah.
And they're obviously, like we talked about, this is the teams right now. Who's their biggest need?
Exactly.
And so with the Seahawks,
what hole do they need to fill?
With the Seahawks, I have them at 18. I have them taking Josh Simmons from Ohio State. He's up in the air with a guy from Missouri, Armand Membo. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Yeah. It was those two guys I was looking at the whole time because, frankly, I don't care if the Seahawks needed a receiver too. They need to replace Tyler Lockett. You go get that in the 4th, 5th round, 2nd, 3rd round. You need to work on this O-line. It's been we talked about this. It's almost been a decade. It has been a decade of just poor O-line play.
Yeah.
And
not defending our quarterbacks.
Yeah, and we need to help them. And especially, we're going to get a young quarterback relatively soon. Let's start building this O-line now.
Yes. Build around him.
And I just have the Seahawks. I feel like our GM is going to go a little bit more towards Ohio State because, first of all, bigger games, played a national championship, wins a championship. So he's playing the bigger games, which is closer to NFL games.
Yeah.
And it's also just a higher program. I think you just go off that standpoint. Yeah. Josh Simmons, who's a beast, offensive tackle at Ohio State, so he's protecting the edges. And then, don't get me wrong, Armand Membo, great guy, an amazing athlete,
Mhm.
Missouri. I just purely think it comes down to the school.
Yeah.
And that's where I had them choosing Josh Simmons. Even the second round, I might have the Seahawks taking another offensive lineman.
That's the thing. I think if you want to fix the offensive line problem, which has been a problem for us forever, for even going back to Wilson, I think I think the draft could be a good way to fix it. Just go pick up some guys out of college who are big, who are strong, who can Now, I'm not saying you're going to build the new Eagles line, not like that, but just
you need to improve.
Improve it, because right now we have, I want to say, like next to the worst offensive line in all of football.
Outside of the Bears, I believe.
Yeah, and the Commanders too. I think we're one of the ones who also have given up.
No, the worst three, but I think maybe because
all
James
time.
Daniels is. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All time, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even know that. We'll get into all time a little bit later.
No, but I mean, like, if you go get some guys who you can build up. It might take a year or so for them to get to the level that you might need them to, but you build up an O-line that when like what you're saying, like when we get a young QB to replace Geno,
already have them there.
Yeah, already have
set
it there.
stone.
So you don't have the who's the QB for the Bears right now?
Caleb Williams situation.
Caleb Williams
That's
situation.
a great comparison because he came in generational talent.
Yep.
Obviously,
No protection.
No protect. You can't do a whole bunch. So why not? Whenever we do draft that young quarterback, going to be in the next 2-3 seasons, have our O line already there.
Yeah.
Don't waste a season of him on a rookie contract, especially.
Mhm.
Don't waste a year of that having poor O line play.
Exactly.
And Josh Simmons, he's protected future quarterbacks. Like he was there with C.J. Stroud, Will Howard won a championship and etc. Stuff like that.
Yeah, nice.
6'5", 310-pound guy. You just need big men. You need big guys on this line.
Yeah.
So I think we start going into some star players in the
Yeah,
rest of
let's
the
talk
mock
about
draft.
like who are the first
We
round
did
picks.
do a whole mock draft, but that is going to be for another video. This video is getting pretty long because we have a whole bunch of talk about still left. For the first pick, I do have Cameron Ward going.
Yep, makes sense.
My thought process is just get QB competition there.
Yep.
That I in reality they might trade down because they don't need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So you get more capital and you just kind of start building a team a little bit more there. If you Will Levis sucks one more year, then go get your quarterback.
Yeah.
That's where my kind of thing is. Abdul Carter, beast of a human. He might even go to Tennessee if they don't trade and stuff like that. There's been a whole bunch of stuff in the air. But I also have them picking that because Myles Garrett requested a trade, who's a superstar in this league. You know, there's been projections for him to go to almost every single team, including the Seahawks, which it was like a DK Metcalf 2 first-rounders for him kind of situation.
I can see that, yeah.
But I think Abdul Carter, it's like, here, we have your help almost, because they have a relatively good lineup. It's just without the quarterback, so it's like they might take Shadur, they might take Cam Ward, whatever.
Yeah.
But Abdul Carter almost says to Myles Garrett, hey, we have this side unlocked. Do you maybe want to stay? Myles Garrett does stay. You have two sides locked up. Quarterback needs help.
Yeah.
If Myles Garrett does leave, you have his replacement.
Yeah.
So that was my thought process on that. Shadur Sanders in New York, I feel like that one's almost obvious. They need the quarterback. He's the big name. Goes to a big market as well.
Yeah.
Him and Malik Neighbors, I feel like is a really good duo.
Yeah.
Do I see them doing good this year? No, but you build off that. They have super young guys. Next up, I do have Ashon Jeanty at 12 to the Cowboys. Greatest running back in college football history that we have seen, that our parents have seen. Like 2 legendary seasons between Saquon and Ashon Jeanty.
Yep.
And
just in different leagues.
there was a couple things like some of them have them going to the Raiders. I don't think they go to the Raiders because I think you need to build elsewhere. Running back is a priority, but it's a deep running back class.
Yeah.
At 6, I don't think you do that. Then the Bears at 10. We talked about it. They need a lineman.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they took Ashon Jeanty because, again, it's generational talent.
Yeah.
And that almost, could you imagine Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Ashon Jeanty
Strong offense.
super young, and they have a really good defense. The Bears are a team to look at in the future.
Yeah.
Like, if it's the stock market, buy now situation.
Buy low, sell high.
Yeah, that's the situation right now with the Bears. But I do we talked about it legit. The Caleb Williams situation, I have them taking Tyler Booker, which is kind of high, but offensive lineman. You have to help your young quarterback.
No, exactly.
So at 12, Ashon Jeanty, the most needy running back team. Don't get me wrong, Rico Dowdle had a great year, outstanding year, but he's going to sign somewhere else most likely.
Probably.
I don't see him signing back. So Ashon Jeanty comes in off the bat to a huge market after having a huge season. All the hype in the world.
Yep.
Then at 14, Tyler Warren, generational tight end. We saw 2 generational tight ends last year with Brock Bowers, who, in my opinion, this might be a hot take, should have won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He led the league in receptions as a rookie tight end. Had the greatest rookie tight end season of all time. Tyler Warren's not that far behind him. Colts get their guy. As they're there's only 2 teams that need a tight end.
Yeah.
Because tight end is almost a weird situation to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually there's bigger roles in tight end, like offensive lineman or D tackle, or you need a receiver.
Yep.
The 2 teams were the Broncos and the Colts.
Yeah.
And luckily for them, Tyler Warren does fall them in our mock draft.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about 18, Josh Simmons. I think a good pick.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see them going in a different O-lineman way. I had them taking O-lineman, though.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer, I think, for the Seahawks right now.
And then I'll just end off on my favorite team as it starts getting towards the end of the thing. I was going between Walter Nolan, D tackle, but there's been a whole bunch of debate up in there with Stephon Diggs. I have the Texans taking Ohio State receiver Emeka Egbuka, champion, played with CJ Stroud already, so the chemistry's kind of already there. Tank Dell's going to be out for probably for all of next season. It's going to be Nico Collins, Emeka, and probably a young receiver, in my opinion, because Diggs might not come back.
Yeah.
So I have them taking that receiver. Just you got to help Stroud out.
Yeah.
And I think linemen, they are going to build through free agency.
Yeah.
We will do a whole first-round mock draft later on in videos and explain our situations, and we'll draft it with you guys, obviously.
Yeah.
But just for right now, those are the big names going through the draft.
No, absolutely. I think, the Texans are probably going to be pretty fun to watch in the coming years. The fact that they made it to the playoffs, ended up playing a game against the Chiefs, too. Like, you go that far, that's pretty...
Well, it's 2 years in a row now they've won a playoff game with... First year, it was one of the greatest rookie seasons with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson.
Yep.
Won Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
They're building something. Next year, sophomore slump. The Texans don't look the same as they did last year.
Yeah.
Still won a playoff game, which is super surprising. I'm always going to be biased towards them. But if you're winning a playoff game in a sophomore slump and the team doesn't look that good, what when the team does look good and he's playing good, what does the team look like?
Yeah.
So it's only and they're a young team as well. This is what the Seahawks will look like probably 5 years, 6 years from now. They do get the young quarterback and etc. So the Texans are a very exciting team, especially if they get Emeka Egbuka to be that second, third receiver.
Yeah.
For when Tank Dell does come back.
Just build a super strong offense.
No
Yeah.
doubt about
No,
it.
I think this is also a super exciting draft class for the NFL.
Oh, no doubt.
I think even you got Ashton Jenkins. You also got Travis Hunter in there,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, Travis Hunter. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
I have him going to the Patriots.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that.
I was talking about it before that. That's maybe why I forgot. But Travis
Yeah.
Hunter, generational talent, receiver, cornerback, first we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's a weird
Heisman
situation.
winner.
I almost had them taking Tetro McMillan because he's a 6'5" receiver. Drake May needs his number 1. But I was like, Mike Verbo knows how to use these guys. Or, it's the first he's going to use, but he knows how to use these guys in the best ways possible. He's going to find a way to get them on offense and defense.
Yeah.
You still get your receiver for your young quarterback in Drake May, who had a great rookie year, in my opinion, when he did come in and play. So I had them take. You can't pass up on generational talent.
No.
They do take McMillan. I still think it's a good pick.
Yeah.
But Travis Hunter has the name.
Yes.
He goes to a big franchise like the Patriots.
Yeah.
And you just build from there.
Just pick up a Heisman winner. That's
Yeah,
all you
like
need to do.
like you said, a great from
Draft
top
class.
to bottom, great
Yeah.
draft class. I don't think there's going to be a lot of misses in this draft. There's going to be a lot of helpers in this, like, to build off of.
Yeah.
These prospects, these players, overall top to bottom, great class. And
Yeah.
we'll make more draft classes as they come, or make more mock drafts as we get closer.
As they
to
come,
it.
yeah. I mean,
And trades, and like we said, trades
are going to
free
change
agents
it.
are going to happen. A whole bunch is going to happen in this offseason. So obviously our board's going to change as well.
Yeah. No, I think it should be really fun to see a lot of these guys hit the league and start to play in the coming years and everything like that. But, that's going to do it for football. Let's get into the thing that I think a lot of people have been really anxious to talk about. I've been really anxious to talk about. The Four Nations face-off. Let me tell you, I haven't seen hockey this exciting in a long time. It's better than the Olympics. It's better than the regular season. I was about to say it's better than the Stanley Cup. The
fact we're talking about it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'd rather win a Stanley Cup.
That is true. I think the Stanley Cup, there's the feeling of
You're
winning
a champion.
that. Playing a 7-game series, you get to hoist the cup, do all that stuff and everything like that. And the Four Nations face-off is great. You're playing for your country. Round-robin tournament comes down to one game. Win or go home.
The 2 biggest countries in the sport. It was a great way. Like I said, we talked about Matthew Tkachuk not playing tonight. He's going to be out for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
So I do not think they do the Four Nations face-off. Maybe they do it every 3 years kind of situation, or every
other year or something like that.
Every other, because they can't keep doing this every year.
It's not sustainable.
And every once in a while, you have to throw the All-Star, because everyone wants the little break, that fun. Because at one point, if they do this every year, they're going to lose players.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like Connor McDavid didn't play today.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about his shot.
Just too tired, might get hurt.
And these guys were playing hard. The
100%.
Chucks were this was some of the best hockey you've ever seen. In my opinion, the best watched hockey game I watched was that championship 2-2 game goes to overtime.
Mhm.
Jordan Bennington, who was the storylines in this, Jordan Bennington, who was very lackluster, a little underwhelming
during the regular season.
Where it's like, okay, America and some of these other countries has Canada beat on the goalie aspect.
With the Connor Hellebuyck, yeah.
Yeah, but even on Sweden and Finland, they had better goalies, in my opinion. It was looking like Jordan Bennington turns up in the last game, overtime, in baseball terms, robs 4 home runs back to back, completely saves them. And then it comes down to the best player in the world gets left wide open in the center of the ice. Connor Hellebuyck was probably seeing ghosts because you don't see that much often, and he puts it to rest. And I talked to you about this.
Yeah.
This was a bigger win than hockey. This was a big win for the country itself. Because Canada is going through a lot of things.
Yeah.
And overall, Canada needed a whole. They needed that. As a whole country, they needed that.
Yeah.
And this was the most watched single hockey game of all time.
Yeah.
As stats said, no Stanley Cup game has beat this. No regular season. No All-Star game has beat this. Or even some
it's
Olympics.
Up there.
Even Olympics wise.
Yeah.
This was the most watched single hockey game of all time. The hyper. You had ESPN posting this. Hockey's not a very popular sport.
No.
But this almost grew the game exponentially. As this was you had ESPN posting these guys.
Look, it's so much different than an All-Star game or an Olympics game, anything like that. Because the Olympics, not all the guys in the NHL go and play for, because it happens during the regular season, so they're not able to go. They have to stay and play for their teams, especially as they're getting closer to playoffs and everything. They got to get pushing to be able to make playoffs, because that's the priority, right?
Yes.
And that's what they're getting paid for. All-Star games, you're playing for, your division basically, and that's not.
Well, it's for fun. You're not supposed to get injured.
It's not really for pride or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's just something about during the All-Star break, playing for your country. You because it's during that break, you get all the best stars on the teams that they play for their country.
Yep.
And the pride that they feel, there's just something that's just completely new and unique about it. Like you said, it's one of the most highly watched hockey games of all time. You're growing the sport. I think the NHL right now has the NBA beat in every possible way when it comes to growing the sport.
The only thing that happened in the NBA this past weekend, you had guys sitting out because they were sick and stuff like that. Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk were playing injured when it's not even they're not even the playoffs right now or Stanley Cup. That's one thing or another. But the only thing that saved the NBA was Mac McClung.
Yeah.
He was an amazing dunker, but the Four Nations face-off is building hockey. I had people calling me that don't watch hockey.
Yeah.
And I'm Canadian, so I was cheering for Canada and stuff like that. So I had people calling me "Oh, when's the game on?" This whole situation, and it made me feel so joyed because it brought us back to when we were calling WCU hockey games this year for the first time in history. That there was a play-by-play for that. It made me joy that yes, there's a hockey team.
Yeah.
Oh, where can I watch this? Where can I watch you guys?
People get excited about it.
And people get excited because hockey, in my opinion, is such a fun sport to. Doesn't matter who you're watching. It is a very fun, the Kraken versus the Sabres. That could be an entertaining game.
Yep.
And this brought the best athletes from the best countries together, facing for their country. There was hype. You had Wayne Gretzky be a co-captain. You had the captain of the Miracle on Ice of America come out for America.
Yep.
It was just an amazing event. Brought everybody together. The crowd atmosphere was through the roofs. We don't agree with booing the national anthem and
Obviously
stuff like
not,
that.
yeah.
We're never going to agree with that. Whether it's from both sides, America booing Canadians' anthem and then Canada booing America's anthem.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there was almost every single part of the game was amazing to watch. The goals, these weren't easy goals. These were amazing goals where it gets in front of that. These were amazing saves where it was how did he save that? Or what a hit. Every part of this game, the power plays were some of the power plays we've never seen. The penalty kills. Yeah. Jack Eichel's stick broke. Gets it with his foot. Stops the shot with his foot. They're able to clear it. Get off.
Going all out. Yeah.
Just amazing. They're diving. This was just an amazing atmosphere to be in. I'd love to be at this game.
This game feels to me like me watching it is what I imagine people watching the Miracle on Ice would have felt like, just in terms of the country relations. When you think about it, back in the Miracle on Ice, the Soviet Union and the United States were, during the Cold War and those tensions between each other, and they're playing each other. So it's more than a game. It's about playing for your country, who has this deep conflict with this other country, and it's about coming out on top and winning. and
I
I mean,
think
it's not exactly quite the same with
well,
us in Canada.
the conflict is more like a big brother, little brother
thing.
conflict situation.
Yeah.
Obviously,
we're in a bit of tension right now with the tariffs and all that stuff, but still,
it's more like Canada. What's up, Canada? You know, they're different. Like the Soviets was a whole different situation and stuff. But
they're upstairs
the
neighbor.
tension is it was amazing to watch. As there was a whole bunch of smack talk going between both teams. The group chat situation, they're talking.
Yeah.
The USA won the first game.
Yeah.
And kind of was like, everyone was kind of like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
This is, this is becoming a thing. Oh, this is our sport. And then back. You know, Finland and Sweden. Even Finland and Sweden. We're talking about Canada and America right now. That was amazing watching from their side. Obviously, they didn't have the teams to compete yet. But I would love to see the four-nation face-off grow to like I want to say this is a whole bunch. I've seen a whole bunch of people have this idea, and I agree with it. Like a six-nation face-off, maybe call it something different. But you add Russia because they can compete almost immediately, and then you have a world team.
Yeah.
So you have the guys that like Leon Draisaitl for Germany. You have David Pastrnak. He's from a very enclosed country. I'll search it up relatively soon. But have the best players that aren't on these 5 countries come together as a team, and then boom, you have 6 countries that are like really good. And this is and you just kind of do it from there. But this was an amazing tournament. NHL did a great job as they had football fan pages posting about them. They had everybody, no matter what sport you were watching this game. And it was amazing to watch. It was awesome. It was some of the best hockey I've seen.
I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that, you know, there are so many great Russian players in the NHL right now. And I think obviously for good reason that there's a reason why they're not playing in the Four Nations face-off
with everything
that's happening
right now.
But I think you're totally right. I think the way you get around that is make like an Eastern Bloc team, like you do Germany, you do Russia. Because I think about a team with Leon Draisaitl, Alex Ovechkin, and then Vasilevsky and net.
And, well, even Croco Pro, who's having a great year for Minnesota.
They would probably. They might beat Canada. They might beat the United States.
There's a chance one of these teams is out of the championship because of that team. That's a great way. Like. And maybe want to be more watched because of the fan base and stuff like that. But that gets people across the world more involved. And that's how you build it. Like
grow the sport.
We talked about how NFL and NBA are struggling with their All-Star games. And even MLB a little bit starting to get lower on viewership. Everyone loves the Home Run Derby, though. Like they're the best out of those 3 right now. And every once in a while, I do want to see like a shootout. I want to see them do who's the fastest, actual All-Star event. Yeah, that's why I think you do the every 3 years, every other year thing with the Four Nation face-off.
I say do every other year. I think that because I think one, if you do it every single year, then it becomes too or like
you're not gonna be excited for it.
Oversaturated.
There's not gonna be players playing in it because they're like
too injured.
I got injured.
Yeah, too hurt. And you know, if you do it over and over and over and over again, then it kind of loses its. Cool, I would say coolness, but I think if you do it, there's a reason why the Olympics are a really cool thing. Is that it's every
4 years.
Every 4 years, yeah. So you have that gap in between for when you can go and compete and do this thing. So I think if you do it every other year, you're giving yourself, like what you're saying, you get to do those all-star things, you get to do those competitions. So you have that kind of year of like that, like I would say like a fun year. Like you're just like it's just for fun. It's just to like show off some great talent.
Honestly, that's super. Like you still need an all-star event for the fans too.
Yes.
And that's I think perfect. Because you have 1 year where these guys are trying, we're watching true hockey being played. Yeah. And you have like a fun, like, oh, let's go Matthew Tkachuk, let's go Brady Tkachuk,
and then we lock in the next year.
And, do the skills competition, all that cool stuff. And then you do that. And then you have like these guys playing their hearts out. And so going to the game standpoint, like, first of all, how do you leave the best player in hockey wide open in the center ice in overtime? And some of these guys, this is the biggest games of their career. Yeah. So just overall, from the game standpoint, I don't know. There's a lot of people saying Austin Matthews' fault. Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby basically just passed the baton, passed the torch off to Connor McDavid. There's the new golden goal, a huge game being played. Sidney Crosby's getting towards the end of his career, hands it off to the next best athlete.
It was just history repeating itself. It's the same thing.
Exact
2-2
same
hockey game.
Score.
Yeah, going to overtime, and then he gets the golden goal and wins it. I mean, it's just...
And it was almost, I want to say, 2 different playing styles being played. Yeah. Canada was like the skillful, speedy, crazy guy. America was like the big, tough, gritty guys. Yeah. And it almost came up on the score sheet the same way as all these goals. As the very first goal, Nathan McKinnon somehow gets it through 4 guys, top right on He won MVP of the tournament, so shout out Nathan McKinnon.
Yep.
But yeah, gets top right, Nathan McKinnon. He let more goals, talking about Connor Hellebuck, he let more goals go in this game than he led in the whole other previous tournament.
Yep. He's cracked.
Well, it wasn't even a crack thing. He had an amazing game.
Yeah.
Like, it just happened to be, okay, I don't think any goalie in the world stopping Connor McDavid. Center ice wide open.
No.
So it almost wasn't even his fault.
No.
And it also happened to be, I would have bet you money Jordan Binnington wouldn't have outplayed Connor Hellebuck. But Jordan Binnington's going to have movies made out about him in Boston because this dude
It's a miracle on ice, man.
he's the clutchest Game 7 winner-go-home goalie I've probably ever seen.
It was a
You go back to
Boston miracle.
2019 when he was the best goalie in the league.
Yep.
So it wasn't that surprising.
With the St. Louis Blues. Yeah.
Completely robs the Bruins, has almost a shutout on them and wins his
Stanley Cup,
championship.
yeah.
Yep. And then this game, completely, I think he went 33 for 35.
Yeah.
Completely robs 4 of them. You're talking to me. We're looking at each other in the face like, how did he save that?
Yeah.
Like, there was 4 of these things where if he doesn't glove it, doesn't tip it out, that's game. That's game. And that happened so many times. And Jordan Binnington in overtime was probably the clutchest player. I thought at one point, I was like, they might give him MVP for this just in one amazing game.
Yeah. I will 100% admit that I was dogging on Binnington. I was
kind of like, dude, low-key start Aiden Hill. He's younger, maybe, something happened. But Canada stuck with him.
He clutched up.
He proved them right.
Yeah.
I saw a whole bunch of comments like, all of Canada, everybody needs to owe Jordan Binnington an apology.
Yeah.
Apology. Because that was just amazing, crazy plays.
Didn't know he could play like that, yeah.
And passing the baton off with Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid. So many storylines. And between the goals, going back, Nathan McKinnon snipes it, gets past 4 people. America comes back and ties the game with, Austin Matthews kind of goes in front. Brady Tkachuk barely gets the tip, goes over. Okay, we have a tie game. Brady Tkachuk wasn't supposed to play.
Yep.
Oh, okay, comes out. Next up, whole bunch of tips in front of the net. Oh, Jake Sanderson, young guy, was the 8th, 7th defenseman for this team. Wasn't supposed to be playing in these games.
Yep.
Again, with the storylines amazing. Got a goal.
Yep.
Could have been the game-winning goal, obviously, stuff happens. And then you go back to the Canadian, the skill side. Mitch Marner gets past the guy, sends it over to Sam Bennett, another Florida Panther.
Yeah.
On the other side of the ice, though. Hits it top left on Connor Hellebuck. So it's you had 2 amazing goals, 2 gritty goals. And then, obviously, Connor McDavid in overtime.
Too easy.
Amazing saves from both sides. Even Connor Hellebuck. Austin Matthews leaves his man wide up in the center of the ice.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest explosion of a crowd. Great calls from the Canadian announcer and American announcer.
Yeah.
And just the celebration. You see it. Overall, just great game. You cannot ask for better hockey.
Arguably one of the best hockey games ever played. But
I can confidently say that was probably the best hockey game outside of maybe because I'm an Oilers fan, those Stanley Cups being played.
Yeah.
But in a game itself, where the tensions are like that, you're hyped, you're looking at it, that was probably the best hockey game I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Because it was good goalie play, great defensive. There was times where defensive men made great saves and saved goals.
Yep.
Right before that, remember the one that Connor McDavid could have tipped it in and with 12 seconds left? I believe it was JT Miller. A forward,
laid out, yeah.
A forward comes in and clears it away. It was an empty net, Connor back, but there was great goalies being played, great defensive being played, obviously great forwards being played.
Just all around great hockey. And hey, the record right now is 1-1. USA 1, Canada 1. I want Game 3. I want to see who wins it.
People were talking about people are like, oh yeah, screw Finland and Sweden. I think they did amazing.
Oh yeah,
it was a great hockey being played. They just want to see a 7-game series between these 2 teams, which obviously be amazing to watch. I don't think we should do that though. Yeah. I think if anything, you add the Russia team and you add Team World, and you have 6, and then you have more.
An all-encompassing team for everybody else.
And I know this would probably push off the season a little bit longer, but almost give a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Because
just a pitch.
2 days ago on Thursday, Connor McDavid got the game-winning goal, and then he's not playing today, and the Oilers lost to the Flyers.
Yeah.
And it's just a situation where Matthew Tkachuk's injured. Just give them a little bit more time. Push the season off a little bit. Give it a 2-week thing.
Yeah.
Or 2-3 week thing, and boom.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves. I don't think they're going to keep it in the same format. They're going to probably change it. They're tweak it a little bit.
They're not going to do it every year.
Yeah, it's still, I absolutely love it.
Great idea. It's
super great idea.
Best All-Star weekend we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Since NBA All-Star weekend back in Toronto in 2015.
Yeah.
This has been the best kind of weeks we've had.
It's definitely super creative. I love it. Some of the best hockey being played.
No doubt.
And so I'm excited to see how it evolves, how it changes moving forward and all that. But yeah, no. that's going to do it for the episode today, everybody. There's just so much crazy stuff.
It had to be a long episode.
Yeah, there's just so much we had to cover and talk about, and just from everything, from the Mariners to the Seahawks to the Kraken to just the Four Nations face-off.
To a mock draft to whatever.
Draft, yeah. We just try and fit everything we possibly can in here. But yeah, no, that's going to do it for the episode today. Thank you so much, Connor, for being in booth today.
Of course, always happy to talk, and this was a great episode. I love talking about everything we did today.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no. Just a reminder, Mariners are going to be playing today, right now.
Tara Wallach's having her senior tonight, so if you're on the Palouse, go see her.
Yep.
Or if not, if you're watching from home, check her out. Check her highlights. She's, like I said, better person than she is player, and she's a WSU legend.
Listen to KUGR live on YouTube. They're going to be doing the call for that. I don't know who's doing the call for it tonight, but they will be doing the radio call if you want to listen to that. Some young broadcasters doing that. And then also the Kraken playing against the Panthers tonight, which we're probably going to lose. But I'm gonna hold out hope that we get a win coming out of the Four Nations face-off break. But yeah, no, that's going to do it, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, it is a great day to have a great day, and go Cougs.